Hey, it's Otaku Tour Guide here, and big news this week has been the passing of legendary comic book artist Neal Adams. Now, I was really kind of too young to really appreciate Neal Adams when he was working on Batman and all the legendary books he worked on in the Silver and Bronze Age. But that's a great thing about this hobby is when you start to really develop the love for the hobby and learn what the hobby is and who the creators are and who, basically it's a lineage, it's a line that connects to the very early works of all the great artists throughout history. And of course, anybody who's a fan of DC, Batman, or just comic book art, just the immense impact that Neal Adams' art and work had on the industry. Immense. I mean, he was like the go-to artist, the hottest artist in comic books during his era. And when he passed, I got to do a show the very next day with Minutia Minute and Naman. These are two guys who speak the language of comic books, and just to be able to kind of, express sort of our pain for the loss through just talking about, his work, his legacy, what he meant to us and the industry, and just being able to connect with people and talk about Neal Adams, I think was a nice tribute, and I was so happy to have been part of that. So shout out to Naman and Minutia for giving me the opportunity to really just connect with you guys and feel good about having celebrated the memory of someone who is cherished. To me, just reading what Jim Lee and guys like Rob Liefeld, what they wrote about Neal and their memories and their, connections with him, and just all the other comic book fans who uploaded the photos and the autographed books and their memories and engagements. You get a really nice picture of a man not just talented but gracious and a teacher and just full of warmth, compassion, a family guy, all those superlatives. And so it was nice to do that. Now, getting back to my haul, so I'm going to do a comic haul video, and as the title suggests, I picked up a Neal Adams cover, a book that he did the cover art for 25 cents. And he did the interior and the cover art, a book I picked up for 25 cents. And so, and there's a very interesting story about the book and how I basically came across the book. So stick around to the very end. I'm gonna save that book for last. So stick around to the very end to hear that story, and it's something I'll just remember about his passing and these books that I picked up. So, as you know, I don't have a particularly large budget, so I don't. I try to stay away from half-price books, and I try to stay away from comic book. I have to stay away from comic book shops, otherwise, I'm just torturing myself. So my wife has allowed me, I think, a few dollars in my budget to buy books, and so I've been kind of just, I got up some books, and I have a few dollars left, and I wasn't planning to buy anything because I have a CGC submission I'd like to do, and my wife hasn't signed off on that yet, but that's going to be a big chunk of money that'll go to that. But I don't know what possessed me though, but yesterday, I was working from home and got some of my work done, and usually, I played with my kid and took him out, kind of rode a bike he has this little Strider thing that he rides around. Did that, and I was going to the library to pick up some books for him for the weekend to read to him. And I don't know what possessed me, but I stopped in and looked at some books, and so we'll get to that story again later. But this is kind of what I picked up, and we'll go over that. Now, as you know, when you go to half-price books and you pick up you find a free comic book, you should buy something, get something, because the free comic book, they'll give it to you for free. At least that's what they do at my half-price books. I think Naman Young mentioned that when he goes, they charge him $1, which is a complete rip-off. That goes against their store policy. Half price of free is $0. So, anyway, I got some books, and of course this was in there for free, so don't mind the sticker. The sticker's from a different book. And picked this up, and I just thought it was just a funny, because if anybody watched Scooby-Doo back in the day, there was an episode where Batman and Robin made an appearance, and really, Batman's a detective, and Scooby-Doo is, I guess you could say he's part of that detective crew, like Fred, Wilma, and I don't know what's her, Fred, Wilma, and Velma, Verna, I forget her name, Veronica, yeah, Fred, Veronica, and Wilma. Anyway, back in the day, Batman and Robin actually made an appearance on the Scooby-Doo that I watched, and that's what we have here on this fun cover. So this is just a free comic I picked up. Just thought it's a cool Batman cover, kind of kick us off. Yeah, so as you know, I already have a copy of this. This is my previous copy, and this one's not in bad shape, but it's got spine ticks. It's got like ink rub. This is a lot cleaner. This is a way better grade than my previous, and I was able to pick this up for 50 cents. So again, on all these books, I have 6 books here. I spent about $2.90. No, sorry. I spent about I want to say I spent like $3.28 on 6 books, and this one I got for 50 cents. So I will pick that up every day. It's a very clean copy. Again, this is better than my previous copy. I would put this at a 9.0 easy. It needs a press, but it's so clean. It's just clean, way cleaner than mine. And with the white cover, that's hard to get, given the age of this book and everything. So, just happy to add a clean copy, cleaner and more, vivid, vibrant copy to the collection. And this is an amazing cover by Adams. Cyclops is looking a little purple there. He looks purple. Like here, he looks he's blue like he's supposed to look, right? Here he's looking purple for some reason. I don't know why that is, but it's strange. Anyway, 50-cent book. And then I picked up this one also for 50 cents. They have a bunch of classic X-Men there, like a whole little stack there, all for 50 cents. I would have picked up all of them had I had the budget, but I just picked out the two ones the two real key ones, number 1 and number 3. And this is I'm trying to collect all these 25th anniversary border ones, and I just added this new one. I've always been meaning to get this one, the Art Adams cover of Aurora, and it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful cover. She looks absolutely fabulous there, right there. And you got the wraparound, just great cover. So again, 50 cents on this one as well. Again, I spent 6 books, 2 free comics, and spent $3.28 on 6 books. So that's roughly about 50 cents a book. This is one of the big. In fact, hang on. Do I want to show this one on first? I guess I have to now. I didn't even realize this book was a thing, to be honest. But I'm so glad I now know of its existence, because I'm going to collect the other 2 issues of this. So this is a 3-issue. Essentially what it is a 3-issue pinup book for Jim Lee X-Men art, and it's all art that he looks to have sketched, inked, and colored on his own. And if you thumb through this book, it's just a bunch of X-Men character sketches, villains and heroes, just a bunch of sketches, just a bunch of beautiful sketches. And was happy to pick this up. So it's not in the best condition. It's not too bad of condition either, but this is not worth all that much. But to a Jim Lee collector, man, this is the kind of stuff that just gives you goosebumps. And so there's 3 covers. This is the second of the 3. The first is a Sabretooth cover, and the third is a Archangel cover, all drawn by Jim Lee. And all the art, again, in this book they're all original prints of. This is a comic book, so all of the pages are just Jim Lee artwork, and they're very similar in the style of this Gambit. Basically, a sketch. I'm sure. So Jim Lee looks to have sketched, inked, and again colored for this particular book, or maybe for a portfolio of some kind. But whatever, they've collected the works of Jim Lee and published them in this book. And again, it's a 3-issue volume or 3-volume series, and this is book 2. And at some point, I guess when I do the retrospective, I was talking to Nama and we were chatting, and I do want to do a more detailed and in-depth retrospective of. It's weird to say retrospective when Jim Lee's still putting out amazing work, but kind of go over the career of the man. And I feel like this book came out in 1993, I believe, 92 maybe. Um, this was obviously Marvel's attempt to continue to, uh, you know, market off Jim Lee's talent. Because I'm sure this was, well, maybe Jim Lee had some kind of, but it was around the time he departed, maybe after he departed Marvel. But Marvel put out this X-Men collection, and it's an amazing collection of artwork by the man. So if this isn't on, if you're a Jim Lee collector like I am, and this wasn't on your radar before, I'm putting it on now. Go out and get this book. It's a must-have, especially when you look at the artwork in this. Now I'm not going to pull it out and show the artwork because I just don't do that. I don't like taking out my books and showing the interiors. I know some people do, and I'm not going to knock anybody who does that, but that's just not what I do. I'll do it. I did it for the live stream to look at the interior work that I had, the book that I had, where Neal Adams did the interior work. In those instances, I feel like we have to show the interior and, you know, Neal's work. If we're going to celebrate it. But yeah, for this kind of video, I don't necessarily feel the urge to get my book out and show it to you guys. My apologies for that, but yeah, happy to pick this up. Again, I got this for half off, so what is half of $2.95? I can't do math. It was about $1.50. This is another great add to the collection. Picked it up for free. This is a reprint of Detective Comics number 27, the first appearance of Batman. And it shows this great cover of the Capullo Batman busting out of the backdrop of Detective Comics. And again, in this issue is just the reprint of that original classic comic, Detective Comics 27. But what's really special about the special edition is the credit to Bill Finger. Yeah, as you know, for a long time, DC did not credit Bill Finger as, you know, a creator on the book, and then, you know, they did a whole, they basically changed their position, and you know, Bill Finger started to get credit in the movies, just as one of the original creators, and justly so. You know, that's something that should have been done while the man was still living, but the fact that he's getting the credit that he deserves. And, you know, this was published back in 2014, and so, I mean, this is kind of old news, but at the time, you know, this is a big deal. So this is a very special, really special reprint, and instantly becomes, you know, one of my favorites in the collection. Even though it's a free book, it's such a special book, just because it's, for Batman fans, this is kind of like a big moment, right? To celebrate the 75th anniversary of the character. And so, yeah, couldn't believe I got this for free. I almost felt guilty going to the counter and being like, hey, I get this for free. And then this is my last book, and this is where the story comes in. Okay, so basically I went to have price books out of boredom. I wasn't going to pick up anything. I went out of boredom. And usually when I go and I look through books, and if I find something, what I do is I'll kind of stack the ones I find that I want to buy, and I'll kind of put them to the back or somewhere sort of inconspicuous, and I'll wait on them, and I'll basically give myself maybe 24 hours to just think about it. If it's something I really, really want, like it's like, let's say I found like a, X-Men, giant size X-Men #1, I'm buying that for sure. But most oftentimes they're just like random Jim Lee books or something that just one in the collection. Not necessarily I need in the collection, but something I want, right? And then what I'll do is I'll kind of temper that desire to get it right there and then by stashing it away again, and then giving myself at least 24 hours or a few days to think about it. Because oftentimes these, like a book like this, will be there even weeks from then. People just don't focus on it. So oftentimes, if I'm picking up 90s books or something, I don't feel like necessarily like an urgent need to get it right there and then. And that's what happened with this book. So I found this book. I also found X-Men #1, sort of a kind of a beat up copy, but again for half price, off $3.95 cover price. If you're picking up for under $2 for X-Men 1 Jim Lee, you pick that up. But on that particular day, I found that Jim Lee copy. I found this. I also found like a Jim Lee Captain America from the 90s as well. I found those like 3 books. Those are like Jim Lee books. I was like, you know what, I'm probably going to pick these up, but I'm not going to pick them up now. So I kind of stashed them away and put them in the back, like I said, with the intent of picking them up at some point. And then I came home. And when I came home, that's when the news of Neal Adams' passing hit. And of course I took to social media and I just kind of expressed what everybody was feeling, just shock, and I posted the news. And I also posted some of the great covers that Mr. Adams had drawn over the years, at least the covers he's most well noted for, and some of my favorite images. And I instantly my thoughts came back to this book, and I was like, you know what, there's a Neal Adams cover sitting there at Half Price Books for 25 cents. You gotta go and pick up that book tomorrow. So the very next day, I went back and I picked this up, and I also picked up those other books. Not the Jim Lee #1 and the Captain America, that's still sitting there, but I picked up these other finds there. This was actually, these finds were from one location, not the location. These two were from the Redmond, the location where I was digging. And so yeah, I picked this up for $0.25, 25 cents, and it's a Neal Adams cover. Scott Williams ink. The interior of this book is both Jim Lee and Neal Adams. They collaborated, so you'll see panels that are very Neal Adams, and you'll see panels that are very Jim Lee. And this is Wildcats X-Men. So they're one-shots. There's 4 books that came out, 4 individual one-shot books, but all tied through this crossover. There's Wildcats X-Men Golden Age, which is the first in this series. This is the second the Silver Age. The third is the Modern Age. And the last is Wildcats X-Men, the Dark Age. And all four of them are illustrated and written by different people. But this second book is the only one where Jim Lee and Neal Adams worked on this crossover, and they worked on the same book. So not only is it the Jim Lee and not only is it Neal Adams, but they worked on it together. And there's actually two covers. There's for this Wildcats X-Men Silver Age, and I think it's aptly titled the Silver Age, considering Neal did the cover for this. Now, the first thing you'll notice is even though it's Neal Adams, it definitely doesn't feel Neal Adams. It definitely has a modern feel to it, and that's because Scott Williams inked this. He did the inking for it, and this is a crossover you probably will never see again. So it's one of those really rare instances of Image and Marvel coming together. Well, I mean, I guess it was a little bit more common. There, you probably saw a few of these, but Wildcats X-Men, the two big superhero teams in Image and Marvel at the time, coming together in this crossover is just unique and just kind of random as well. But it again brought two generationally it brought two legendary creators from different generations together. So you have Neal, Silver, Bronze, you have Jim, Copper Modern, and they work on this book together. And again, the panels aren't like they're doing, they're not drawing over each other's work. They're literally contributing different pages to the book, and so it's like just Jim Lee, Neal, just intermittent of each artist doing their takes on it. So it's a very interesting book. I think being a fan of both creators, it's a book that I felt like I needed to have, and I have it now. And Jim Lee did a very touching tribute to Neal after his passing on Instagram, where he wrote, and on the DC webpage as well, where Jim Lee talked about what Neal meant to him personally and professionally. It was a wonderful tribute. But Jim Lee ultimately attributes his love of Superman, his love of comic books, and his love of the art and medium. So just the medium of drawing comic books, that love that was nurtured in him, he attributes that to Neal Adams. And when you look at the careers of Jim and Neal, they're very similar. Neal worked on X-Men. Jim worked on X-Men. Neal worked on Batman. Jim worked on Batman. Neal worked on Superman, Action Comics. Same holds true for Jim Lee. And but the similarities don't end there. If you look at the way they do anatomy and covers and what they do best for the characterizations of Batman and Superman, just look, I've been looking at both covers for a long time now, and they they really just kind of have the same approach to, I think, Batman Superman. And whether Jim Lee is copying or paying homage to the style of Neal Adams, it's not necessarily apparent, but I think you do see those like borrowings. And so and another way that they're similar is when you look at Neal Adams, he was so popular. He was selling so many comic books with his covers and his art. He really became, for DC, at a certain point, like the cover guy. Like this is the marketing guy we're going to turn to sell comics. And so they just had him doing a bunch of covers. They didn't have him doing interior art all that much, but they just had him drawing a bunch of covers because they knew ultimately, like, hey, the more comic book covers you draw, the more sales we're going to have on not only Batman titles, but whatever titles we want to see stronger sales in. And so Neal became one of those just one of those guys you turn to sell books and to do just covers. And ironically, that's kind of what Jim Lee does now. Jim Lee's been doing that since the latter days of Marvel, really. Like, they just haven't him stop. After he sold like a bunch of books, they realized, look, this guy doesn't have all that much time. Let's just take him off books. We're just gonna have him do covers. And they had him do that, like with a bunch of different, titles and whatnot. And eventually, he stopped. He ended his run on X-Men, and then went to started Wildstorm, where he was doing more of that. He was basically just doing covers to sell books, and I'm sure he got sick of doing that. But that's kind of been like the roles they've been kind of relegated to. Like Neal and Jim have been relegated to just doing a lot of cool, eye-catching artwork, cover work, rather than like doing entire books and runs. As a fan, that's not always good, but it speaks to their it really speaks to how talented they are and how popular they are, and just how captivating their images are, because you don't get to those other former things if you can't have that very last thing. If your art doesn't engage and connect with people, they're not going to buy your book, and they're not going to, in your book, you're just not going to be able to go very far, right? So the talent supersedes all those other things, I feel like. And yes, anyway, I kind of rambled on long enough, but this is a book, again, I guess this is the first Image DC, I mean, in hindsight, it was Marvel Image crossover, but considering that now Wildcats is now DC property, this is technically DC Image Marvel. So this is the first DC Marvel Image crossover in history. It's a Neal Adams book, Jim Lee, and if I put this on your radar to go get and you get it, I am happy to do that, because it's celebrating Mr. Adams. And I'm going to end this video with the cover of Superman flying out of the city. Rest in peace, Mr. Adams. Otaku out.